They don't fear the loudest voice in the room. They fear the one who speaks last or not at all. There's a certain kind of person who doesn't need attention to command it. They walk in and suddenly the atmosphere tightens, not because they're famous, not because they're violent, but because their presence carries a quiet warning, a signal, a gravity. They don't chase approval. They don't explain themselves. They don't even need to raise their voice because what they carry is the most dangerous weapon a human being can possess, a mind that cannot be manipulated. Have you noticed how the people around you shift when you start changing, truly changing? When you become calmer, clearer, and less available, they fidget, they joke, they offer false concern, but deep down they're not confused. They're afraid, not of your anger, but of your clarity, not of what you say, but of what you no longer need to say. You've stopped explaining, you've stopped performing, you've stopped needing to be liked. And that alone makes you terrifying because you've touched something they've spent their whole lives avoiding. Truth and superiority, not over others, but over yourself. You no longer crave to be chosen. You no longer beg to belong. That emotional cage they're still trapped in, you've already stepped out of it. Machiavelli once wrote, "The predictable man is the controllable man." Nature warned, the free mind will always be alone, but it cannot be conquered. Understand this, the world doesn't reward independence, it rewards obedience. It's designed to keep you comfortable, agreeable, and quiet. But every once in a while, someone chooses the opposite. They choose discipline over comfort, stillness over applause, detachment over validation. And if you're still watching this, you just might be one of them. This is how you build a mind that terrifies. Not with threats, not with rage, but with the calm, quiet certainty that you no longer belong to anyone. And that is what makes you untouchable. Weak men react, strong men respond, but terrifying men, they wait. They let the storm pass. They watch the chaos unfold. They observe every word, every action, every reveal, and only then do they decide. In war, in business, in love, the one who loses control first loses power. It's not rage that makes you strong. It's the ability to contain that rage like a blade unsheathed only when the outcome is already yours. Here's the truth. When you let emotion take the wheel, you're not in control. You're being played. The world is full of triggers. A casual insult, a fake compliment, a manufactured crisis designed to make you flinch, because the moment you react, you're revealed. And the revealed man is the predictable man. And the predictable man is the controllable one. A strong mind doesn't suppress emotion. It studies it. Pain becomes data. Jealousy becomes a mirror. Anger becomes leverage. You no longer say, "I feel this way." You say, "Interesting. Let's track where this leads." Machiavelli would tell you, never show your true emotions in public. Never let them know what rattles you. Perception bends reality, and silence is far more terrifying than any explanation. The most dangerous man in the room isn't shouting. He isn't pacing. He's still watching, calculating, untouched. Because he holds the one trait everyone else lacks: strategic delay. He doesn't defend his ego. He doesn't chase closure. He doesn't plead to be understood. He's not impulsive. He's surgical. He's already learned. Not every provocation deserves a reaction. Not every tear signals innocence. Not every anger should be released. The stronger your emotion, the deeper your pause must be. Pause before speaking. Pause before deciding. Pause before striking, not out of fear, but out of control. Because in the pause, you reclaim power. And in a world addicted to outrage, power is the rarest drug. You're not powerful as long as you still need something from anyone. The moment you need to be liked, you've surrendered leverage. The moment you crave to be understood, you've handed over your strings. The second you seek their validation, you forfeited your presence before you even stepped into the room. Let's get something straight. Neediness is not emotional honesty. It's emotional dependence. And dependence is the foundation of control, just not by you. Detachment is the antidote. Not coldness, not apathy, but full-spectrum psychological detachment. What does that mean? It means you no longer ask for permission to be who you are. You no longer dilute your presence to fit fragile rooms. You no longer over-explain your essence just to feel accepted. Here's the brutal truth. Most people don't want to understand you. They want you to make them comfortable. And if your clarity makes them feel small, if your strength exposes their excuses, they'll call you arrogant, cold, emotionally unavailable. Let them. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the mirror your presence holds up, and what they see is everything they've avoided becoming. You weren't born to be liked. You were born to master yourself. And mastery begins the moment you stop negotiating your existence. Most people aren't afraid of being alone. They're afraid of what surfaces when there's no one left to perform for. Because when the audience vanishes, so does the mask. That's why true solitude, not loneliness but chosen separation, is terrifying to the weak and sacred to the strong. The average mind can't sit in stillness. It craves noise. It searches for distraction. It fills the silence with dopamine and validation. Scrolling, shallow conversations. Because when silence stretches too long, it starts to echo. And in that echo, they hear something they've buried for years, their own voice. The terrifying mind doesn't run from that voice. It listens. It sharpens it. It learns to move through the world without approval. Because it no longer seeks echo, only clarity. Solitude is not absence. It's full presence without dependency. It's the space where all false identities decay, where borrowed beliefs fall off like rust, where you stop being what the world made you and start becoming who you truly are. The mind that terrifies doesn't need to fight. It watches. It calculates. It waits for others to destroy themselves and then moves in silence. Welcome to psychological warfare. Not the kind fought with fists, but the kind fought with stillness, expression, and restraint. The most powerful weapon isn't aggression. It's perception. Human nature isn't complicated. It's patterned. We are driven by a small set of forces: fear, desire, insecurity, and status. Once you learn to read these, you hold the key to every reaction before it happens. Watch the body. Hear not just the words, but what's missing. Notice the shift in voice when their ego feels threatened, the glance that lingers too long, the silence they fumble to fill. Most people rush to speak, not because they're confident, but because silence feels like exposure. But a sharp mind? It uses that silence like a scalpel. It cuts through masks, reveals fractures. The longer you stay quiet, the more they reveal. Because silence isn't absence. It's pressure. And under pressure, truth leaks out. They think power is visibility. They think strength is something loud. Titles, applause, appearances. But they're wrong. Real power is invisible. It's built in quiet hours behind closed doors. It's forged in the choices no one sees, the pain no one praises, the sacrifices no one understands. The strongest minds don't advertise their discipline. They train like ghosts. No cameras, no quotes, no validation. Just repetition. Just the hard thing done over and over again until it becomes second nature. Every man who commands respect in public has bled for years in private. Power rarely comes from who you truly are. It comes from what people think you are. And if you don't control the image, they'll invent one for you. The terrifying mind never plays blind. It builds the mask. It shapes the mirror. And then it lets the world reflect itself. You don't lie. You don't perform. You simply decide what to show and what to let them imagine, because mystery unsettles people, and unsettled people adapt. Every unnecessary word weakens your edge. Every explanation gives away territory. Every attempt to clear the air only clouds the perception you should have left in silence. There comes a moment, not loud, not dramatic, but sharp, cold, irreversible, when you realize they were never meant to understand you. And more importantly, you no longer need them to. That's the final break. Not from them, but from the version of you that kept apologizing for being intense, that kept dimming your fire so no one else would feel burned. You tried. You explained. You softened your edges. You shrank your words. You swallowed your instincts. And what did it get you? Distance, misunderstanding, and the slow death of your own truth. But now, no more. Because the terrifying mind, the one they whisper about, the one they secretly admire but openly resent, was born the moment you stopped performing for comfort. If you've made it here to the end of this video, through the silence, the solitude, the darkness, then know this: you are not like most. Most people would have clicked away the moment the words got uncomfortable, the moment the truth felt too sharp, the moment the mirror became too clear. But you didn't. You stayed. Not because this was entertaining, but because something inside you already knew. This wasn't just content. It was confirmation. Confirmation that your silence, your restraint, your distance was never weakness. It was preparation.